Chris, the charges that Edward Nero was facing included assault, reckless endangerment, and misconduct. They were all misdemeanor charges, but they could have carried jail time if he was convicted. Now, this trial took place in front of a judge only, not a jury, and it took place last week. During the trial, prosecutors were arguing that Nero and the other officers assaulted Freddie Gray because his arrest and detention in the first place wasn't a legal one. They also argued that Nero was negligent, that he should have ensured that Freddie Gray was properly secured in the back of that police van with a seatbelt. He was handcuffed and he was shackled. It's believed that he suffered a spinal injury during that ride that later led to his death. Now, his defense lawyer argued that Nero had very little to do with the whole incident, that he broke no laws, that he followed procedures and his training. Judge Barry Williams seemed to agree with the defense's argument, saying that there was no evidence that Nero had any intention for a crime to occur. He also didn't accept that argument that prosecutors put forward that an illegal detention amounted to an assault. If he had accepted that, that would have had very broad implications. Now, after the verdict was read, the not guilty verdict on all 4 counts, Nero reacted emotionally, hugging his lawyers. His lawyer later put out a statement saying Nero is elated that this nightmare is finally over, and said that he never should have been charged in the first place. Lots of reaction to the verdict, including from a lawyer for Freddie Gray's family. Here's what he had to say.
We ought to be grown-ups about it and understand that only Barry Williams was in a position to make the ruling that he did. Nobody in the public was in that position. Only Barry Williams heard all of the evidence and understood how to apply all of the applicable law. And you can't knock Judge Williams after he has done essentially a public service in not only ruling, but explaining in great detail every basis for his ruling.
And Chris, there was also lots of reaction from protesters who gathered outside the courthouse behind me before the verdict was read, and afterwards they reacted with a lot of frustration. They were holding signs saying justice for Freddie Gray and telling me that justice meant convictions. They want to see somebody held responsible for the death of Freddie Gray. Things got pretty heated when Nero left the courthouse and was making his way down the street behind me to the parking garage. The protesters actually followed him down the street. They were yelling at him. They were yelling guilty. They were yelling murder. They were yelling no justice, no peace. There was no violence, however. The protesters, while emotional, did remain peaceful. The city had been bracing for any unrest, but they had been urging residents to remain calm and to respect the judicial process. There are more trials to come. Nero is only the second of the 6 officers to face a trial. The first one, William Porter, his case ended in a hung jury and a mistrial. He will be tried again later this year. The next trial coming up is on June 6th. That's for the driver of the van, and he's facing the most serious charge, depraved heart murder. A lot of people in reaction to today's verdict now looking towards that one to see if there's any convictions.